Wonderful.
So
Yeah, we live, Don?
we're live.
Awesome. So, welcome to our brief presentation on Sage Intacct Real Estate. I'm Misty Palick, the practice lead for LBMC Technology Solutions, Construction and Real Estate Division for Sage Intacct. And since this is a quick 30-minute session, please submit your questions in the Zoom Q&A section, and we'll email you the answers later today. So if any questions come up, I ask that you just put it in the Q&A section. And without further ado, I'm proud to introduce Beth Woodall as one of our senior Sage Intacct consultants here at LBMC Technology Solutions. She specializes in contracts, projects, and custom integrations. And with over 15 years of accounting experience in industries like government contracting, tech startups, and healthcare, she uses her background to deliver tailored solutions for our clients. So take it away, Beth.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. As Misty stated, we are on a little bit of a tight timeline here, so you'll have to forgive me if we start rolling through these pretty quickly. We want to introduce you to Sage Intacct Real Estate and everything that it can do for you. And when I say everything, we're going to hit the high notes here. Our goal for today is we are going to understand those core features of Sage Intacct Real Estate, learn how to automate real estate specific accounting tasks, discover the benefits of real-time financial insights, explore how Sage Intacct enhances multi-entity and multi-currency operations, and evaluate that return on investment of Sage Intacct Real Estate for your organization. So, what is Sage Intacct for real estate? At a high level, it's going to give real estate owners and operators a 360-degree view of the financial and operational facets of their assets, which allows them to capture all revenue opportunities, monitor and communicate performance, increase property and portfolio value, and grow their business. So, what can Sage Intacct for Real Estate do? It's going to increase the value of your assets by capturing all revenue opportunities and tracking spend, thereby increasing your net operating expenses. Um, be a scalable solution that can grow with your business, drive workforce efficiency with state-of-the-art technology, and provide unmatched reporting capabilities for stakeholder communication, all for a lower total cost of ownership. It's also going to provide a central repository for lease information and easy to build and easy to use dashboards to track financial and operational metrics. And it's going to allow easy access, easier reporting, and best in-class security. So one of the things Sage Intacct as a whole is known for is that easy access, easier reporting, and best in-class security. So, who could benefit from Sage Intacct Real Estate? You might also hear this referred to as SIRE, SIRE. So, from that commercial sector, we're looking at office rentals, industrial, retail, including percentage rent. Not everybody can do that. Intact can. And then looking at those medical office buildings. From that kind of that real estate management side, any kind of thing conventional renting, affordable housing, condos. These are just examples of who could really be using Sage Intacct Real Estate. All right, so again, are kind of limited on time, so we're going to jump right into a demo of Sage Intacct Real Estate. All right, so here we see Sage Intacct. When you log into Intacct, this is what you are going to see when you log in. I've got a demo environment here. When we log into Sage Intacct Real Estate or Sage Intacct, we see this landing page. One of the things that I like to demo when we talk about this, kind of one of those real-time metrics, is looking at our dashboard. So I'm going to go over to dashboards and go to our property portfolio dashboard. Now, what does a dashboard do? So it's a really nice way of presenting uh, financial data kind of in one main area. So not only am I going to see property information, tenant information, but I'm also going to see GL information all in one dashboard. Now, dashboards are fully customizable. You will have some dashboards that Intact has built that you can access through their dashboard library, but you can also build your own dashboards. And so that means I get to make it where the metrics that are important to me, that's what I'm seeing. And the beauty of dashboards too is that if I find a dashboard or I build a dashboard that I love, that is relevant to the information that I want to see, I'm able to make that my landing page when I go into Intacct. So I don't have to see that home page like we saw just a second ago. I could make my portfolio here my landing page. So as soon as I log into Intacct, I'm instantly seeing real-time data. All right, notice here at the top, I've got what these are called performance cards. So we're able to, track key metrics. And again, there's going to be some in there that you can choose from, but I can also set key metrics that I want to see. Maybe I set these up. So here I've got my rental income, I've got my property expenses, my net operating income, my accounts receivable. I'm seeing those all. Not only am I seeing the value for the time frame that I'm looking at, but I'm also able to have comparative data as well. So right now I'm seeing some that, hey, this is, it's up 4.24% versus 12 months prior. But I could have that compare to just last month. I could see that. So as I'm building out my performance cards, I'm also able to set that comparative analysis if I want to. And this is really beneficial for people, when you really want to kind of see, hey, am I, same time last year, am I up or am I down? Especially with rates as they, are ever fluctuating. So these are great, just right off the bat, key indicators that I can see. Moving down, I've got my tenant aging. I've got it in both a graph form as well as the detailed raw data underneath. So I'm able to see, hey, where is my aging here? Do I have the majority? Where is it sitting? But then drilling down even further, I'm able to see that raw data within the system. Now, one of the things that I really love about a dashboard is, yeah, I've got these other metrics. I've got my performance cards, things like that. I can also stick my financial reports on here. All right, so here you can see my property income statement. I've got this as a trailing 12 months. Okay, so I'm not only seeing, the months that I'm looking at, but I'm also seeing the last 12 months prior to that, so I can kind of see a comparative wise where are we sitting. Notice how my total property revenue here, that 32,181, it is tying to what I've got up here. Again, this is just, hey, quick glance. If I want to look at details, I can go down here. I can also drill into these numbers. So dashboards have drillable capabilities. So let's say I want to look at that 32. Hey, guess what? I'm now seeing that here and I can see all that information. Again, I can see it down here as well. But again, I can click into any of these hyperlinks and see the detail that it makes up. I can even drill down even further to see more information. So, this is one of the things that I think Intacct does so well is that not only do I have that information at my fingertips that I can see easily, but then I can dive down into those specific data points to see what is making up that information. All right. Now, again, we talked about how this is fully customizable. You can make this to whatever you want it to be. But one of the things also at the top of the dashboard that we're seeing here is we have the ability to filter our dashboard. I've got it filtered on a specific date, but I can also filter it on my locations, on my tenants, on my lease. Now, what are these? These are dimensions. So Sage Intacct utilizes a dimension functionality with every transaction that is recorded. Dimensions, they're basically just telling the story of that transaction. So when we look at a transaction, we instantly know, where did it come from? Who did it? What is this about? From a real estate perspective, we're using these dimensions and transactions to tag the entity, the property, the tenant, the lease, so that when I look into the GL, I can easily filter for any of these dimensions. This is also going to give me the ability to also budget down to these dimensions too. We always recommend that, budget to the level that you're putting in your transactions. That way, when you're doing your budget to actual analysis, it really is a true apples to apples comparison. And let me tell you, Intact has some built-in reports already that are budget to actuals that you can use right out the gate. So they're really wonderful reports. All right, so let's roll into that real estate module. When I go to my main menu and I go over here to real estate, I'm going to click in here and hit our real estate option. Now, unlike some of the other modules within Intact, this is going to kind of be its own pop-up window here, this own, new tab where we're going to have our new landing page and its own main menu. All right, so within our main menu, we've got our tasks. And so from tasks, I can see things that I do on a routine basis. So I might go in and handle some charges. I might generate the first of the month invoices. Maybe I need to send out some late fees, manage my leases, record some deposits. I can do all of that within this tasks area. When I go to setup, this is where I begin to build all of my data. So this is the main components, the bits and pieces, the nuts and bolts of, the real estate module. So we're going to go and we're going to start with building our properties. And you'll notice that as we go through there, we're layering on top of the data that we're building. So that bottom layer component, that main thing that we're building on top of, that's going to be our properties. Okay, so anytime I click on, one of those words, properties, leases, things like that, it's going to take me to a list within the system. This list can be fully sorted however I choose to. I can even search within these areas. So maybe I don't know the full name of my property. If I've got like a full list here, I can even do something just like typing in PL and then hitting search, and it's going to pull up any of my property names that have PL in it anywhere. It's not just what it starts with. So I'm able to search. So if I've got a whole bunch of properties, I'm able to easily search through there. So I'm going to go over here and edit this property and just walk through these the different areas that we have within it. And the reason why this is very important, again, because this is the foundational part of our real estate module. We're going to build properties first, and this is where we're going to bring in a ton of information. All right, so we've got our property ID. This is something that you assign to it. We've got our property name. We can assign it to a specific department or class, but notice I have it tagged to an entity. If you are a multi-entity Intact environment, I can track my properties at every single one of those entities. So I don't have to just pick one. I don't have to track just properties at one entity. I can assign properties across various entities. So it's really great capabilities there. Going down to our units, we're able to define how many units are going to be within this property. How many units are occupied? How many units are leased? Now, these numbers, they'll be updated as we add additional information once we have the property created in the first place. We'll add units and then we'll be able to start building out leases where this number will then be automatically updated. Now, what type of property is this? Is this a retail? Is this industrial? Is this parking? This list right here, and you're going to hear this theme throughout this whole presentation, is user defined. Maybe I have a way that I categorize my properties, the way I track my property types. I'm able to build my own list here. And that's what's really great about Intact and about this real estate module is that, again, you're going to hear me say it over and over, user defined, user defined. That means I don't have to adhere to maybe like some softwares where they have rigid parameters that I have to stay within. I'm customizing this to my specific business needs. So in this example, I've got it set for retail. Again, it could be something completely different. I can even then start tracking what is my interest on my property. Do I want to post my transactions by property or by entity? I get to make those changes. How do I want to track my occupancy? Is it based on leased or is it based on occupied? When is my lease start date? Lease termination date. I can track my vacancy loss. Going over here to addresses, this is where we're going to put any of our contacts that are related to our property. This is not tenant contact information. That's going to be in a whole nother area. But this is where we might have like our managing, our property manager, maybe it's our maintenance, anything like that. Really great function here where we can add a contact email where we can build in smart events to send out emails or notifications to the people that are on my property contact list. Going over to square footage, um, I've got customizable lists for how I track my square footage. So I've got total, rentable, usable. Again, fully customizable to however you want to track it, but we are then tracking our values for each one of those categories and not just the values, but what is the effective dates here? Now, you may say, okay, well, what's the effective dates really for? Let's use a good example for things like our common areas, right? Our common areas, that square footage could change over time. We could, maybe we have an apartment building, we've got, kind of some smaller common areas, but then over time, we added on a gym. Okay, so my gym now is increasing my square footage for my common area. I need to put in an as of date there. That way, when I'm, tracking things like my recoveries, if I want to change that denominator for my common area, I could have existing leases that the denominator for those recoveries are based on the prior common area space. And then all new leases, it's going to go off of that new square footage for the common area. So really great functions there. Charge controls. This is where we're going to define what are we going to be billing when we have those leases. Now, all of these items here are just that. They are items. Those items are going to be built within the main core area of Sage Intacct where we have them under order entry and we've got our items here. Again, we've got different items that we're going to be able to add here that we can then add to our charges over in our real estate over in property. And then we're going to be able to even define, is it a part of base rent so that we see that on that rent roll report? Is it subject to management fees? Is it subject to late fees? Fully customizable. I think that's the thing you'll hear me say over and over again. Going over to deposits. Do we want to take deposits? Do we take a standard last month's rent, first month's rent? Is it a refundable security deposit? Things like that. If it's refundable, what liability account are we, sticking this in? Do I want to have late charges assigned to this property? So we can define not just maybe a single late fee, we can have multiple steps in our late fee calculations. Is it based on a percentage, a flat amount? And what is the percentage? Do we have a grace period? How often are we calculating this? Lots and lots that we can do here. We're also going to be able to put in management fees. So we can have, what's the frequency of our management fees? When does it start? What is the calculation basis? And then even going down here, what's really great is when we have those management fees and we need to get that into the system's going to help put that bill in for us. We're not going to have to manually go plug that in. So we have to choose what's our AP vendor for those management fees. And then, when it creates that bill over in AP, what expense account are we hitting? What payable account are we hitting? Now, these tabs over here, these deposits, the late charges, all of these, we're really getting into things that we're setting up basically what's going to be defaulted as we add leases to the system. these things are going to be defaulted on the lease. Now, you'll notice I use the term default and not set in stone, right? Because we can have these as a default starting place for all of our leases, or when we're adding leases to this property. But that doesn't mean that I can't customize a specific lease when the time comes. Maybe we have a retail space and we really need somebody in that, so we make some concessions where, we'll waive certain fees or things like that. We're able to customize that at the lease level. But doing this here means that we're cutting down on what we have to add in when we add those leases to the system. We've also got things like checklists. Maybe I need to make sure that I send out a letter of intent, an executed lease, a build out permit. As you add leases to the system, you can mark off when these things are done. So that's a really great thing. I can track my taxes related to this specific property, even my insurances. And then you'll notice that I've got attachments here. You'll have, oh, I think my headset cut out for a second. All right, so I'm back. Sorry. Um, we've got attachment areas in both property, tenants, units, the whole kit and caboodle. So we can add attachments however we need to. All right, so now that we've got our property, where do we go from here? Well, we need to add units to that property. Again, we're just building that foundation to get to a point where we can create the leases. All right, so we're going to add units here. Again, I've got my list, and from that list, I can do all those searching that we referred to earlier. On my unit, I'm going to assign that unit ID. I can assign the unit name. In any information about that specific address, what type of, unit class is it? What's my rent? My market rent, my current rent. It's going to keep track of that for us. I can even put in my amenities. I can build out floor plans. Tracking that square footage, I can make that square footage, again, using my user defined fields. And I've got my values here and my as of dates. Do I need to track utilities? I can add that here. And then we see that attachments area. All right, once we have our units defined, then we're going to go ahead and put in our tenants. Now, tenants is ultimately your end customer. So you can see, I can actually see the running balance for each one of my tenants. This is a contact record. We're creating that initial customer, and we've got their information here. But you may say, Beth, I need way more contacts than just one on my tenant. Well, that's okay. Because you heard me say this is customers. This is the customer dimension. In Intacct, I could go over to my customers, to my tenants, and I can add additional contacts to my specific tenant. So I can add as many as I need to if I need to add additional ones. But really, we're just putting a main contact in here. All right, once I have my tenant, then I'm going to go ahead and manage my lease. All right, we're going to go ahead and we can create a lease there. Now, what does a lease do? That lease is basically putting all of the pieces together that we just created. If I look over here and look at our lease, we're able to say, okay, what is this? Who is the property? Who is my tenant? And what unit is it for? So all that work we just did, we are combining it into one specific lease. We've got our specific dates that we want to keep track of. Those recurring charges, again, I'm able to define those per property. I don't have to have anything set in stone. And not only can I define what the current rate is per month or whatever frequency I want to, but I could go ahead and build in my steps for increased rent if I need to. And then all of these things that we look over here, these are all things that are going to default from the property that we had already defined. Now, when it's time to generate invoices, we're going to go over to task. We can go to manage charges and schedule, generate our scheduled charges. So we can go in here and put in specific dates and say, hey, I want to, oh, I got to select my properties. I want to see what do we need to bill for? All right, here's all of the invoices that I need to get out of the door this month. Okay, so then I could just export it if I want to. Maybe I need to send that off for approval to somebody. I definitely can. I'm going to go ahead and generate those invoices, and look there, invoices are being generated. So I can see all of those. They're currently being processed. I didn't have to do these individually. This is such a phenomenal system in that I'm automating so much of my work here. I am going to be saving so much time because I'm just clicking a few buttons. There's a little bit of setup, to get your properties and everything in place, but I'm just clicking buttons going forward from there. Then if I want to see my invoices, I can go over to Intacct, go over to order entry, go over to those real estate invoices. I'm going to see that full list of invoices as they go. I can click on them and see all the information of what I'm billing for this month, and then go ahead and receive that cash just like I would normally in my AR life cycle. And finally, I really want to show reports here. Reports are very, very important in this industry. I mean, it's really important in all industries, but there are specific style reports that, most companies are used to seeing. So we've got a lot of those. We've got your rent roll. We've got lease abstracts. We've got move-ins, move-outs, lease lists. I could go on and on. These are really, really great reports. These are already in your system. You do not have to build these. They are built by Intacct, and Intacct is consistently rolling out new reports for various modules within Intacct. So, and you can even just build your own. So we're talking real-time data, automating your, day-to-day processes, and really customizing. That's what I really want you to get out of this, is you are customizing this to fit your business needs. You're not trying to make your business needs fit into a very rigid product. You are going to get to customize this and do those things that you have only wished you could do in some other softwares. Um, so again, we're talking real high level here because we are limited on our time. But I think, you can see that this module is very, very robust, and it's really, really helpful. We've heard nothing but good things from clients on this. So we hope that you've got a better understanding now of what Sage Intacct for Real Estate can do. All right, so what's next, right? What's your next step? So, well, really, you need to be paying attention to, when is it time? So, are you managing 3 or more multi-entities? Do you spend 10 or more days trying to close your books? Do you spend, 40% or more of your time in Excel-based reporting, so you don't have any visibility into your real-time financials? If that is the case, please reach out to my friend Misty here. She is our construction and real estate practice lead, or reach out to Eddie Finley. He's our sales manager. And then stay tuned because, we're going to send out this presentation, and we have more webinars coming soon. So yeah.
We'd also like to make an offer to everybody here who maybe is interested in this, but would like to take a closer look. And we offer what we call a lunch and learn all about you. So today you saw a preview of the product, but what we'd like to do is buy lunch. We can do this virtually over the phone. We've got a service that you can order your lunch from, and maybe bring a few key team members and sit down with one of our experts to determine if this is a good fit for you, maybe what you hope your future roadmap looks like. And the great thing is you can take advantage of the knowledge of our consultants and experts who are out in the field and have done this for other organizations. So if you're interested, please let us know by clicking on this, and we'll be back in touch with you.
All right. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got additional webinars coming out soon. So be on the lookout for the Sage Construction Management. Our own Misty is going to be doing that one. That's coming up on December 5th. So if you haven't received an invite to that and you would like to receive one, just let us know.
Got
And
the details in the chat.
oh,
Um,
perfect.
the date and time as well as the registration link. But Beth is right. We will be sending out invitations for that.
All right.
Very good job, Beth and Don. Thank you so much for this great presentation today. And I feel educated, so I hope other people do too. Wonderful. I guess we'll close
Well,
it out.
thanks everyone for attending. Misty and Beth, thank you for taking time out of your day to present. And we hope to see you at a future LBMC Technology Solutions event. Thanks everyone. Bye now.